Glad to have you on board from Somalia's administrative center, capital, Mogadishu. Welcome to Somalia's premier #1 station for news and updates, Dalsan TV. I'm your presenter, Abdurrahman Yusuf. Tonight, I have quite a full bulletin prepared for you, but our lovely viewers, kindly have a look at some of our top stories. Parliament Speaker champions for enhanced diaspora relations. Motor attack kills one person, destroys civilian houses in Mogadishu. Somali Prime Minister meets Minnesota State Representative Dalsan Hassan to discuss recent Somalia's reforms and enhancing legislation. Somalia's Ministry of Planning holds consultative meeting in implementation of the National Development Plan in Baidoa. Glad to have you back. Now let's delve into a full bulletin. On Tuesday, speakers of the both houses of Somalia's federal parliament, Sheikh Adan Madobe and Abdi Hashi Abdullahi, met with the visiting Minnesota State Representative Dalsan Hassan. The discussions mainly focused on political and security situation in the country. On Tuesday, speakers of the both houses of Somalia's federal parliament, Sheikh Adan Madobe and Abdi Abdullahi Hashi, met with visiting Minnesota State Representative Dalsan Hassan. Their discussion mainly focused on the political and security situation in the country. Speaker Madobe, who received Dalsan at his office in Villa Hargeisa, thanked the representative for her visit to the country. He underscored the vital role the Somali diaspora people play in state building. On her part, Dalsan expressed gratitude for the warm reception she was accorded and hailed Somalia's reforms in different sectors. The Speaker of Upper House, Abdi Hashi Abdullahi, also thanked Dalsan for her visit and her political milestone achievements in the United States. The Speaker shared with the representative the recent achievements made by the country in legislative work and diplomacy. Hassan, in turn, conveyed to Speaker Hashi the active role of the Somali diaspora living in the United States in advancing the interest and development of their homeland. Dalsan is one of the first 2 Muslim women elected to the Minnesota legislature in 2018. A mother has been killed in Somalia's capital Mogadishu on Wednesday morning after several mortar shells fired from a known location hit her at a residential house. The mortar attacks mostly landed at Bondere district near the presidential palace. A heart-rending story. Ali with a full story.
A mother has been killed in Somalia's capital Mogadishu on Wednesday morning after several mortar shells fired from a known location hit her residential house. The mortar attacks mostly landed in Bondere district near the presidential palace. According to neighbors who spoke to Dalsan TV, one of the mortar shells hit the house of an elderly mother who was awake for prayers at the time.
oo hooyaday la dhalatay markii iyadana salaadii ka baxday oo markii salaada uga baxday way tusbaxsanaysay qolka kaligeeda ee qolka kale tan gabdhaheeda ku jiray marka waxa waaye ilaahay baa u qoray in subaxaan iyadoo caafimaad qabtay soo toosin markaan aan u soo kala cararnana waxaan aragnay iyadii oo kala go'gooday ilaahay wuxuu keenana waa alxamdulillah waa lagu shukrinaa.
Somali Federal Prime Minister Hamza Abdi Barre received Minnesota State Representative Dalsan Hassan at his office in the capital Mogadishu on Tuesday. During the meeting, the two officials brainstormed the progress and accomplishments made by the country in the recent years across various sectors.
Somalia's Federal Prime Minister Hamza Abdi Barre has on Tuesday received at his office in the capital Mogadishu Minnesota State Representative Dalsan Hassan. During the meeting, the two officials brainstormed the progress and accomplishments made by the country in recent years across various areas. The Prime Minister briefed the representative the achievements made by the Somali government in the war against Al-Shabaab, incursion in the East African Community Bloc, debt relief and lifting of the arms embargo on the country in 1991. Barre recognized the pivotal role the Somali people in the diaspora play in state building economic development. Dalsan arrived in Mogadishu on Monday and is scheduled to engage to talks with other high senior government officials, ministers, members of the bicameral parliament, and women on legislation and governance. Before her arrival in the country, the US lawmaker visited Nairobi, where she held meetings with the Somali leaders in Nairobi, including the Somali ambassador to Kenya, Jibril Ibrahim Abdulle. Recently, high officials of the US government drawn from Somalia have been paying visit to the country in a bid to evaluate the performance and achievements made by the country in the last decade. Hamza Warfa, a senior advisor on the democracy and human rights at the US State Department, visited the country in August, where he met with Somali leaders and discussed ways of bolstering collaboration between the two countries. Also in December last year, Ilhan Omar, the U.S. representative for Minnesota's 5th Congressional District, visited Mogadishu and engaged discussions with high-profile government officials on a number of critical issues, including enhancing legislation.
Somalia's Ministry of Planning, Investment and Economic Development has on Tuesday begun a 3-day consultative meeting at the interim administrative capital of the Southwest state. Officials drawn from the Department of Planning for the ministry undertaking a consultative meeting that covers a wide range of pivotal issues. Somali Ministry of Interior, Federal Affairs and Reconciliation, Ahmed Fiqi, held a meeting with senior officials from the National Identification and Registration Authority on Tuesday. The main objective of the meeting was to brief the minister on their recent study tour in Lilongwe, Malawi. Representatives from the Office of the Prime Minister who accompanied them on the benchmarking visit were also in attendance at the meeting. Somalia launched its biometric identity card system in Mogadishu in September this year after collapse of the military regime of the late President Mohamed Siad Barre in 1990. Prime Minister Hamza Abdi Barre, who inaugurated the national identification system, said that introducing a national identification will help combat security threats, terrorism, and identification fraud. The Somali federal government plans to register 15 million Somalis for the national identification by the end of 2026 and eventually open registration offices in each of the country's districts. Lovely viewers, that's all we're prepared for you tonight from Modest K in Mogadishu. I wish to thank the Dalsan Media fraternity for making this news edition a success, and your lovely viewer wherever you're watching us from. Always stay blessed and kindly stay put for more stories in our subsequent bulletins.